All right, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. This is Melissa Anger. So we're going to wait one more minute, get started. Thank you for joining us tonight for the soccer preseason webinar. Hang tight.
Might be.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. On my clock, it's 7:01, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Melissa, you need to hit the start broadcast button. No one else can hear you besides me right now.
I did hit start broadcast.
It's still...
Oh. Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Anger. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started. Real quick, though, John McDonough, can you make sure you enter the PIN number so that you can speak? You should have just gotten something sent to you because right now you can't talk. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us tonight for the soccer preseason webinar. We're going to just go through a couple things, try not to keep you too long. So what we're going to go over tonight, just typical stuff for a preseason webinar, the events, some rule reminders, some deadlines, the qualifier dates, the coaches training, the team assessment form, all the coach requirements and questions. And then after that, all of the, which I forgot to put on here, but it's all like the registration forms and stuff like that we will briefly go over. So same as the past, the events offered, all the adult teams, which is 22 and over, are 7v7 soccer teams. We have unified and traditional. If they are high school and under, they play 5v5 soccer. And that is also traditional or unified. And then we also have 7v7 player development unified. And we'll go over a little bit of what that means later on, but that's more of a, as it says in the title, development from moving from skills up to team play, pretty much just teaches team play. And then, as always, we have the soccer skills competition. Just a little note on the side corner, everyone should know this, but the state tournament is on Sunday, October 29th at Crown Sports Complex in Fruitland. Same place we've had it the last few years, but the date, same as always, last weekend in October. So this year will be Sunday, October 29th. Just real quick, a little brief reminder before we get too far in. Steve Bennett is here, and he's going to be the moderator for tonight. So if you have a question, on the control panel, you will see an option of where to click for the question section. Go ahead and type a question in there, and Steve will answer it. Or you can raise your hand, and Steve will be monitoring that as well, so that we can stop for you to ask your questions. Okay? We'll keep going. All right. So it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with John McDonough. He's going to be helping us with these rules, so I'm going to go over them the best I can. Please bear with me. I am still learning them as I am new to the soccer league, but I will do my best, and I have Mike Zarnowski on the line as well to help correct me if I misspoke. All right, so we have some new rules published in June of 2016 for soccer and every other sport. So the only thing that really changed for soccer
Actually, Melissa, hold for just a second.
Okay.
John, you should have your line open now. Can you check and see if we can hear you?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm going to mute again for myself.
Thanks, Mike. All right, John, can you see the slides as well?
Sure.
Okay.
So
so I'll go with the rule reminders about the roster sizes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll go over this page, and then I'll hand it over to you.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, John. Okay, so as I was saying, we have the couple changes, nothing too much. For 7v7, we have a minimum roster size of 10 and a maximum of 14. You cannot have more than 14 on your team, and you cannot have less than 10 on a 7v7 team. If you are a unified team, you must start the game with 4 athletes and 3 partners on the field. No more, no less. You must start the game with the 4 and 3. Okay? If you have injuries, or hopefully this doesn't happen, but if people get thrown out and you have to go below that 7, you can do 3 athletes and 3 partners. Or if you go down even further, you can do 3 athletes and 2 partners. That's the lowest you can go. Okay, so you can't, if you get someone else hurt after that, sorry, you have to forfeit the game. But if you have 6, you can play with a 3 and 3. So that's a little change this year. For the 5v5, you have a minimum roster of 8 and a max of 10. Okay, for unified, you must start the game with 3 athletes and 2 partners on the field at the beginning of every game. You can't have 4 athletes and 1 partner. It has to be 3 and 2. The new rule with that is if someone gets hurt and you're down to 4 players, it can be 2 and 2. It cannot be 3 athletes and 1 partner. It cannot be 3 partners and 1 athlete. Okay? If it goes down even further, the least you can play with are 2 athletes and 1 partner. Hopefully no one has to play with 3 people on 5, but if that's the case, you can play with 2 athletes and 1 partner. For PDU, minimum of 10 and a max of 14, so it's the same as the 7v7. You must have 5 athletes on the field and 2 mentors. You cannot have more than 2 mentors, and you cannot have more than 5 athletes. It has to be 5 and 2. All right, so we're going to go over the team assessments a little bit later, but these team assessments are going to count as the rosters that are being turned in to me at the state office. Okay, once the team rosters are sent in, the team assessments are sent in, no changes are to be permitted on the roster. That roster needs to stay, and that's going to be it. Okay? Players can only play on 1 team during the season. So once they're on that roster, that's what team they're on the whole year. Okay? You cannot swap players or loan players to other teams at qualifiers. If you don't come with enough players, I'm sorry, your team doesn't play. That does not count as a qualifier for you. If you come to the required qualifier without your team and you try to add someone else to it, that's not going to fly and your team will be disqualified. Okay, you have to play with that team at states, at their qualifiers. Same team has to be played at states. No exceptions for that. And no one can miss a required qualifier. This is a huge thing. These required qualifier dates, which you will get late in a little bit, they're set. Okay, you need to get these out to your athletes and tell them these are the days that you have to be there. Okay, we've had issues in the past. No one is allowed to get around this. Everyone has to get a required qualifier. This qualifier is the main one that we use for the state tournament divisions. Okay. John, I'll keep going because it's age groups, but I'll chime you in when I need you to step in.
Sounds good.
All right. Age groups, same as always. Okay. 22 and above are adult. That's 7v7 and PDU. 5v5, 16 to 21 is high school. Elementary and middle school are kind of together because they're so young and we don't have too many teams in those age groups. So they're kind of more together. This is the same policy as we have had in the past. Okay, if you have a 18-year-old that wants to play on the adult team, that should be fine. But we have to have an exemption form, an age exemption form. You can send in and request as many exemption forms as you like. That does not mean that they automatically get accepted once you send it in. Okay, that's a huge thing. Just because you send it in to me does not mean they're automatically accepted. I have to email you back and say yes or no. Okay, we've had that issue in the past with other sports that say, just because you send it in, we've had coaches say, well, I sent in and gave them my age exemption form. That's not automatic. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to go through all this. It's all the same as in the past, but I just want to make that pretty clear for you guys. If you have someone that's younger, you must submit an age exemption form for those players. And please fill it out completely. And the reasoning, please don't just put they played with them last year. You need to actually give a reason why safety, they be okay, size, whatever it is, why they skill level, why they be okay to play. Okay? Soccer field dimensions, I'm not going to go over this. It's the same as always. 7v7, 2 20-minute half, 5-minute halftime. If we're running behind or anything like that, we can lower your halftime. Just make sure. Typical game is a 20-minute half, 5-minute halftime for 7v7. For 5v5, it is a 15-minute half and a 5-minute halftime. Okay? 7v7, the ball on the sideline can either be kicked in or thrown in. And for 5v5, ball over on the sideline is an automatic kick in, not a throw in. Sorry, give me 1 second, please. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulties. All right, John. I'm sending it over to you to talk about the PDU highlights.
PDUs, going to be 5 athletes and 2 mentors on the field as in the past. Goalie must be a Special Olympic athlete. Mentors are on-field coaches. They're not players on the team, unlike traditional unified. Mentor can give verbal instructions, physical directions, receive the ball, keep a ball in play, start the offense. They can escort an athlete bringing the ball down the field, but they cannot directly impact the course of the game. They cannot score, and they cannot play defense actively or passively. They can also cannot steal the ball, cannot block shots, cannot intercept a pass from the opposing team, cannot impede the advancement of the opposing team, cannot shoo away members of the opposing team, cannot excessively control the ball, cannot excessively control the game. Do you move that? Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Uniforms. Players must be properly attired to compete. Jerseys shall be marked with recommended numbers on the back. Permanent numbers are on the jersey. Duplicates are not allowed. Pants or shorts, no jeans, shall be of like color among all team members. In the case of inclement weather, varying colors may be allowed at the discretion of the coordinator. Undergarments that are visible shall be of like color among all team members. Hats, headgear, including concussion, head protective band, may only be worn for medical or religious purposes. Shoes having soft and yielding cleats are permitted outdoors only, no metal studs. The goalkeeper shall wear colors which distinguish him from the other players and the referee. All jewelry must be removed before competition. Shin and pads and guards covered by socks are required for all players. Officials' discretion for eyewear. If for medical use, please have the soft sport frames.
Hi, John. I can talk.
What's that?
I say if you want to talk about this, or I can. It's up to you.
You could talk about it. That'd be fine.
Okay. So I just want to put this in as a reminder. The principle of meaningful involvement. It's pretty much everyone needs to have that play time. Just because you have someone on the team, they might not be the best athlete, score any goals, but they need to get the same amount of playing time as everyone else. Okay, team should not, and this is a big one, that's why I'm reading this word for word. Team should not include players who dominate play, exclude other teammates from contributing to the success of the team, or present a health and safety risk on the play field. By permitting any player to dominate, other players' roles and opportunities are greatly limited.
Melissa, just one correction in something I think you just misspoke. It is not a requirement that all athletes have equal playing time. It is just that every athlete be given the opportunity to contribute to the team. So the other athletes, there's no athlete on the team coming and stealing balls away from their own players or stealing passes, that type of thing. But there is no requirement in terms of equal playing time amongst the players.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was thinking something different, and that's what popped up. So that's pretty much what meaningful involvement is. Everyone needs to be able to contribute to the team. Just because they're not as good as someone else doesn't mean that they shouldn't get the same respect and everything else. Okay, and this kind of just goes on to everything else, the same thing. If an official determines that a player is dominating play, that official can warn the player and the coach, citing that the player and or coach with unsportsmanlike conduct or removing the player or coach. Okay? Officials are in charge of the game. Our officials aren't some of those that you see the professionals or anything like that. They're not here for a power trip. They're here for the athletes. Okay? You need to listen and respect the officials. And that's not saying that this has happened in the past, just a friendly reminder. This is a very, very big thing right now. No athlete or volunteer may participate in any type of manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program, which is an area counting training program or competitions, without a valid medical or volunteer application. If someone doesn't have a medical or volunteer application, they should not be on the field. They should not be participating. Okay, that is huge. Everyone needs to have a valid medical, up to date, and a valid application, volunteer application sent in and approved to make sure everything is complete before they can participate. Some of the fall deadlines, these have all been shared with everyone before. The training registration deadline, which is where the areas need to have all athletes, partners, coaches, volunteers, anyone participating with your program, put into GMS into the 2017 training sports combined. I think the games are what they're called. They need to be in there by 9/11, September 11th. Okay. You cannot submit anyone after that day. On September 11th, on September 12th, I will send out a roster of everyone signed up. This is not putting them in teams. This is just putting them in training, saying that they are participating in soccer and training in some way. Okay? On September 15th, the team assessment forms are due to me. You must email them to me by the 15th. You get them to me earlier? Awesome. They need to be to me by 9/15. And these will be counted as your team rosters. Okay, I know it's early, but I need them before the qualifiers. That's a very big thing right now. I need them before the qualifiers. I need them by 9/15, or your team is not going to be eligible for states. September 21st, every athlete, medical, volunteer application, concussion, everything. You have until September 21st to get those into our headquarters, into Rachel. Okay? That is the last date for missing forms to be submitted for the fall season. On October 5th, the training competition registration deadline doesn't really go for team sports. That's really for individual sports, because I will be putting everyone onto their teams based off of the roster. By 10/5.
It will apply for skills, actually, Melissa.
I'm sorry?
It will apply for skills athletes.
Yes, thank you. Forgot about skills. By 10/5, skills athletes must be entered into their event. Okay, so I'll be putting the teams into their events, but if they are in skills, that is on the area to put them into the event. Okay? So these are the qualifier dates that I have as of now. If we're missing any, please let me know. Send me an email with the sanction form. These are the only sanction forms / dates that I have received so far. Okay? Howard County has been amazing, and they have 4 dates for their league play out at Cedar Lane Park, same place as always. If you're interested in going to one of their qualifiers or league play days, email John McDonough, and he'll get you set up there. Just let him know which date or dates that you are going to be attending with your team, what your team is made of, what events you're playing in, and so forth. Calvert sent in a qualifier for 9/23. The Howard County qualifier on September 30th is also going to be a required qualifier for all PDU teams. Okay? So it's not just a required qualifier for PDU. It's going to be as well as a regular soccer qualifier, but it is required for all PDU teams to attend this qualifier. This will count as your required qualifier. The required qualifier for adults is going to be on October 8th at the Severn School. Severn, Maryland, Severna Park, Maryland. Same as last year, but that date is 10/8. All adult teams will automatically be registered in this event. Okay, so please mark your calendars. If you have an adult team, 7v7 adult team, not PDU, just 7v7 team, your required qualifier is on 10/8. I am missing the high school required qualifier. I'm still working that out. As soon as I get that information, I will get that sent out. I believe we're kind of looking towards, and we've already spoken with Baltimore County, and there's a possibility that they will be hosting it. Not 100% sure yet, but as soon as I have that information, I will get that sent out to you guys.
One thing before we leave that, my email address that everybody saw last year no longer exists. So the new email address that you see here is the one you want to put in. Otherwise, it goes into the abyss, the other email address. So when you're sending it to me, ask for confirmation that I received it.
All right, thanks, John. All right, so tentatively, but you can mark your calendars, but this is going to be still very tentative. October 28th.
7th.
August 27th.
Yes, 27th. So it's Sunday, August 27th. We're proposing coaches training. We're coordinating availability of Cedar Lane Park. And it will be similar to last year's program where all volunteers and coaches come ready to participate.
If I can give a little pitch for this, this is Mike. I was out there and saw the session that John ran last year. It was phenomenal. It was one of the best and most active sessions, coaches trainings I've seen in quite some time. I would advocate it, even if you don't need to renew your coach's certification. It is absolutely a worthwhile training session. Do come ready to work out, but it was exceptional. So little plug there, and John just did an amazing job.
Hey, Mike, I'm back on. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure what happened. I just got disconnected. Thank you for taking over while I sign back on.
Actually, John took over. I was just singing his praises. So.
Well, thank you, John and Mike. And for the coaches training, once we get this confirmed, I will send out a registration link. Please sign up. As Mike said, even if you don't need to be certified, come out. Bring your volunteers. It doesn't have to just be coaches. Bring your volunteers with you. This is a good thing for all coaches, volunteers, anyone helping with your team, coordinators, anything. Okay? Not just coaches have to be certified. Other people can be certified as well. Even Unified Partners, bring them out as well. Okay, so the team assessment form. This provides a self-rating of your team. Please, please, please be as accurate as you can. Okay? Don't rate yourself too low to play against lower teams. Don't rate yourself too high. Try to be as honest as you possibly can on these forms. These are going to be used for matching and divisioning of the early qualifiers. Okay, we need some kind of tool to help us with the early qualifiers. Once you've been to a couple qualifiers, it'll kind of give us an idea, and we'll use the other qualifier scores and games to go into divisioning for the required qualifier and the state tournament. But please be as accurate as you can for these team assessment forms. Please be as honest as you can. Okay, and as I said before, these must be submitted to me by September 15th. okay? And I will enter the teams from this team assessment form into GMS. So this team will be count as your roster, this form. Okay, as for all those new coaches, this is the first page. I need to change that top line because Natalia is no longer with Special Olympics Maryland. Sorry about that. And the date is wrong, but you will send them to me, Melissa Anger, and by September 15th, please have all this information completed. I need contact information for your coaches, all coaches, okay? Head coach, assistant coach. I will make a couple changes on this form where it says person completing this form. That's going to change to your assistant coaches just so I have all that information, okay? Please check off team classification and your age grouping and make sure everything is filled in down at the bottom. Page 2, rate your team as well as you can, okay? This is very, very important. If you're somewhere in the middle, let me know, okay? At the bottom, please answer every single question on here, okay? I need all of this answered. Okay? This is a very, very important document, okay? I keep getting forms that are half completed. Please make sure everything is complete. So coach requirements, all Special Olympic coaches, all coaches of Special Olympics athletes must have the following. They have to have the Class A certification, volunteer application, we will do the background. You must complete protective behaviors. You must complete the concussion. Without those 3 things specifically, you will not be able to coach your team. I don't care if you've been the head coach for years. If your stuff has expired, I'm sorry. Everything must be completed for you to be able to participate as the head coach, and it must be submitted and up to date prior than the date of September 21st, the last day for missing forms, okay? All head coaches must have a coach sport certification, okay? You come to this soccer training that we're going to have on the 27th, that counts as your coach certification, okay? Protective behaviors, just so it's not just because we're saying you have to do it. The higher ups at Special Olympics International and Special Olympics North America, this is required for every person volunteering with Special Olympics in the world. It takes literally 10 minutes. It's free. Watch it, read a couple paragraphs, answer a couple questions, bam, you're done. Okay? Save the email that says that you passed just in case this doesn't come through. Rachel checks, I believe, once a week to update this, but if you would like, you have your email that it sends you, because I just had to redo mine, it sends you an email saying you passed. Here's all the information. If you want, forward that to Rachel, forward that to me, forward that to your GMS person. Make sure you save that. It's a very big thing, okay? The concussion certification, every coach must have this, not just head coaches. Head coach, assistant coach, anyone that will be coaching a team must take this course. There are 2 courses online that you can take for free. Please make sure you forward this information of the certificate saying that you passed. Forward that to your regional sports director, your GMS person. You can just send it to me if that helps. Whatever. Make sure this gets sent in by the 21st, preferably earlier. Okay? It's valid for 3 years. If you've taken it in the last 3 years, you can ask me or your GMS person. We'll look up if you're good to go, if you're not sure. please, you send it to coaches@somd.org, and your profile, your GMS profile will be updated. Okay, if you want to copy me on that, just to be sure, go for it. But all of these emails must go to coaches@somd.org for the concussion certification to be updated. We have a new proposed code of conduct for coaches. This is just something that we have a bunch of different codes of conduct. This one is for the coaches. Okay? Please be sure you read through this. This will be implemented this year, and we will be following it. Okay? I'm not going to read through all this. Just please read through this. Your respect for others. Treat everyone equally, regardless of sex, origin, religion, ability, everything. Ensure a positive experience for our athletes. That's why we're here, for the athletes. We want to make sure they are having a good time, having a positive experience. And that doesn't mean winning every game. Yeah, that's great. But as long as they're having a positive experience in practice and games, that's all that matters. And it is your job to ensure that each athlete has that positive experience. You're being fair, and ensure that each athlete competes in the event that challenge the athlete to their full potential. Some more things about the code of conduct. You will act professionally. I know that sounds insane, but believe me, you need to act professionally and take responsibility for your actions. If someone says something to you, you either did something, someone said you did something, just act professionally and no one will say anything to you. Okay? Your language, your manner, everything that you do, you have people watching you, whether it's the athletes, the parents, the other team. You have eyes on you. You are the role model for these athletes. Okay? Quality service to the athletes. Please make sure you go through and be prepared for practices. Make sure you're challenging the athletes to reach their full potential. Okay? This is why they're here. They want to be pushed to their limits. That is your responsibility. You need to have that quality service for your athletes, for your team. The health and safety of your athletes, it should be your number one priority. Make sure they have the right equipment, facilities are safe, make sure you're following the rules, the training, the environment is a safe environment for the athletes. Okay? The safety of your athletes is on you. With practice, with everything. You need to ensure the safety of your athletes. This is just a review. Qualifying for the state tournament. Everyone must meet the training deadline, have the coaching certifications in, and you must complete in the minimum of 2 sanctioned qualifiers. As you saw, we have a good amount of qualifiers already. You can go to more than 2. We encourage you to go to more than 2. Okay? 2 is just the bare minimum. So 1 is the required qualifier, and then you must go to at least 1 other qualifier, preferably more. Okay? Once I get more qualifier dates from areas, I will send them out as soon as possible. They'll be in the area memo every 2 weeks on the sports calendar. Okay? So keep an eye out on there. But if you are hosting a qualifier, please send me the sanction form as soon as possible. We want to have as many competitions as we can for our athletes. Right now, it's just Howard County, Calvert, and the required qualifier at Severn for the adult team. we need more qualifiers. Okay, if you have a team, your area should be hosting a qualifier. Okay, bottom line. If you're going to have a team, that's pretty much what you should be doing. It's not a requirement, of course, but we want to have as many qualifiers as we can for our athletes. Give them as much game experience as we can. That's why they're here. Practice is very important. They want the competition.
Melissa, just a clarification for folks. When Melissa's saying you should be able to host a qualifier, that does not mean that you can host 20 teams on 4 fields at your site. That's not what she's saying. That's not what we mean at all. You should be able, though, to host 1 or 2 teams coming to your practice. You can fit it right into your regular practice time in most cases, and should be looking for those opportunities to do a home and away series with another matching team or other things along those lines. So don't what she's putting forward, even for the smallest county, in terms of resources or space available, is absolutely doable. It's not something, again, where you need to have a full-blown, again, 20 teams coming. So please do look at that. Quite honestly, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, and Howard County, historically, with a couple other counties as well, but historically have carried the weight of hosting the largest number of qualifiers for most sports, and it really is something that everybody should be engaged and involved with, and soccer is a pretty easy one to do, just assuming you plan it out well in advance so we can get officials and that type of thing. So, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. And another thing, like Mike said, you don't have to host it. You can also do a home and away series. Find a team that you are equivalent with, and it can be at a practice. You go to their practice or you go to them for one day, play a game. A couple weeks later, they come down to you. Okay, that can count as a qualifier. Those 2 games, I'll count that. But I need to have the scores. You can't just say, oh, I played so-and-so's team. No, I need the scores, the results, everything for both games. Okay, so we got a little bit of time left. There is a webinar that is happening at 8 o'clock, so we got about 15 more minutes. So we're going to open it up to some questions. So if you have any questions, please hit the raise your hand button, and we will answer it. I know Steve has been typing away over here with his questions. Sean, is there anything else you'd like to add about anything about the soccer rules or anything like that?
On that calendar, probably put in my telephone number when you send it out to everybody, and I'm more than happy to give it, just because sometimes emails, if somebody needs to get in touch, feel free to call me on my cell, 703-926-6751. And we have in the past on bad weather typically made decisions, trying to make the decisions by 6:30, 7 in the morning before the teams are leaving their homes and coming down the road.
All right, thanks, Sean. Any other questions?
Melissa, just as there were a couple questions in the list about finding out the status of coaches for their different certifications and such. That was reviewed with area GMS folks a bit ago, and will be re-reviewed now that we've upgraded to GMS 7. We have a webinar next Tuesday night. In addition to showing folks the new software, which is not all that different from the old software, we also will be reviewing report creation and that type of thing. So after next Tuesday, if your area does not, or your area folks don't remember or can't find the resources on how to do this, we'll have new handouts again for it. they will know how to do it at that point. So again, it's very open, very transparent. Your GMS folks have complete and total access to that information. The only thing they won't know is if something's been received and just hasn't been processed yet. Okay, Melissa, are you still there?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry. We
Sorry.
lost you.
I'm not really sure what's happening right now. So, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. There is no required qualifier. There hasn't been a required qualifier for individual skills. But
there is no specific one that they need to attend. They do need to do two, one of which can be an in-house qualifier, in other words, doing it within their practice. I do see the question. Anne Arundel typically, at the Severn event, typically has offered skills there as well. Prue Sahadio runs it each year.
And according to Greg, they are having that again.
Yeah, I was going to say, there is every expectation they do it again. I believe, but I'm not 100% sure, that Calvert County also has included skills as a part of their tournament. I know St. Mary's, when they had hosted in the past, definitely did, but I don't know that they're hosting anything this year.
Okay.
So,
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, there's not a specific qualifier that they have to go to this exact one. They do need to go to two, one of which can be an in-house.
And if you have any other questions about that, please feel free to email me anytime. The rest of these slides are the registration forms.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Crystal X clarified that Calvert does not typically host skills at their qualifier, so I was confusing that one with the St. Mary's one. So.
Thank you, Mike. These are the registration forms with the athletes. Work with your area leadership. I'm not going to go through all of this. It will be sent out on the slides when I send this out tomorrow. But this is just pictures of medicals that please, a really big thing. Please make sure every single piece is completed on this medical. Okay, Rachel gets a lot of forms pretty much daily, and a good chunk of them are not fully completed. Please make sure these are fully completed when they are submitted. Okay, these are just new thing this year, or new thing in the past couple of years, is the participation waiver. Again, make sure all 5 of these pages are completed. Volunteers, same application as in the past. Please make sure this is completed. If you have a student or a minor, they must complete this form as well. To the 2 pages that were just shown, this is part of the minor's application. This is not the only thing that the minors need. Minors need this page in addition to the volunteer application. Okay, first report of an accident. Please make sure you submit any practice, games, anything. You submit an accident report, an incident report. Okay, this is what it looks like. Please make sure you get copies of these. Your area directors all have copies of these. They're on MySOMD, which should be back open by, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, the end of the week, if not early next week.
It will probably be the end of the week. It may be as early as tomorrow.
Okay, there you go. So this form can be found on MySOMD, or your area leadership will have it as well. Please have copies of these, as well as all of the medicals and volunteer applications for your athletes and volunteers. Please have these with you at all practices. If someone falls and gets hurt, anything, this needs to be filled out and sent to your regional sports director. And send a copy to your area director. Okay? It says at the bottom where to send the forms. Please get these in as soon as possible after the incident happens. Okay, this is all the sports certification again. We've already gone over this. It's valid for 3 years. Make sure you as a coach, as a head coach, especially assistant coaches, not a bad idea for you to get the sports certification as well. Get that certified. These are some of the online courses that you can take. SOMD will pay up to $20 of the amount. The rest is either on you, or some of the areas are willing to pay for the remainder, but you have to work that out with your area. But SOMD will pay you back $20, up to $20 for this course. If you take one of these courses and you are planning to get reimbursed, you must submit the email saying, or the certification saying you completed the certificate, or an email, whatever one, as long as it says you passed, as well as the receipt that gets emailed to you. Those are the two things that we need. You send those to your regional sports director, but those are the two things that you need to get reimbursed. These are all courses that are approved for sports specific. If you look in parentheses, some of them are for renewals only, which means you have to go to one of our trainings or take the ASAP course. And then 3 years later, when you need to get recertified, you can do one of these two, the master's courses or officials training. Those are only for renewals. Okay, please review this list. If you have any questions, reach out to myself or your regional sports director, and we'll be more than happy to help. Again, these are just the general coaching courses that you must take as well. You have to take at least one of these. Coaching Special Olympics athletes is a very good one to take. It's a little lengthy, but it's a very good course. Okay, you learn a lot of good information from that course. And that is the end of the webinar.
If we could go back to the slide, state for coaches certifications.
Okay, it looks like, let me see if I can find it. We had a question about the coaches certification, the date, so I'm guessing that means, the coaches training, which is going to be August, the in-person.
August
Soccer,
27th.
August 27th is the coaches training for soccer, the soccer in-person coaches training. And find it again. There we go. The live coaches training, Sunday, August 27th, Cedar Lane Park. I will send out the Survey Monkey. It has all this information and a registration link for you to sign up if you are going to participate. Please, please, please sign up. Don't just show up, because if we get rained out that day and you don't sign up and I don't know that you're attending, then you're going to show up at the training and get mad that no one told you. If no one knows, then I'm sorry.
Melissa, since John can't see the questions, Emily's asking a good question. I thought it was in the set rules, but about slide tackling. Slide tackling is not permitted in any of our competitions, and will be a violation and enforced by the officials. So, Emily, thanks for asking that. But since John can't see the question set, I wanted to make sure we answered that.
Thank you. Steve actually just kind of ushered at me to answer that as well. Okay, so we have another webinar in a couple minutes, so I'm going to sign off here. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to email me with any of your questions, and I will make sure they get answered. I will send out this webinar as well as the slides and some other information for you guys tomorrow. So please be on the lookout for that. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and have a good night.
Thank you.